Today we're looking at Lesson 5.3, Solving Multi-Step Linear Inequalities. You want to think about solving multi-step inequalities the same way that you would solve a multi-step equation. You would just have to keep in mind of what we learned yesterday with Lesson 5.2, and when you have to multiply or divide by a negative number, that you would have to flip the symbol. But other than that, the entire process would be the same as solving a multi-step equation. So we're going to go over a few where we're asked to solve and to graph on a number line. So here we're solving for W. We need to get W by itself, so we're going to start with what's not directly with the W, which is the 10. Since it's positive, we need to subtract it from both sides. That gives us 13. We bring down our symbol just like we would our equal sign, and we bring down a negative 2W since you were subtracting 2W to begin with. Then we need to cancel out the W, or continue to cancel out the W, so we need to cancel out the negative 2. We cancel that out by dividing, since it's negative 2 times W. So we divide both sides by negative 2. And since we divided by a negative, we're going to get, first off, we get 6.5, or 6.5, as our answer. But we would need to flip the symbol because we divided by a negative number. So our final answer would read W is greater than or equal to negative 6.5, because you always want to read from the variable. So if I were to graph this on a number line, the same rules would apply, so I would use a closed circle since we have it less or greater than or equal to, and then if it's greater than, I'm going to point my arrow towards the right. Now we're solving for y, so we're going to subtract 11, bring down the symbol. We need to cancel out the negative 4, which means we need to divide it to get y by itself. Again, we're dividing by a negative, so I'm going to flip the symbol after that happens, and my final answer reads y is greater than negative 8. So I would use an open circle, since it doesn't include the negative 8, it's just greater than. And again, I would be pointing my arrow to the right. Here we have a little bit more steps than just 2. We're going to need to simplify this, combine like terms, and then start solving for z. So the first thing I always do if I see this is to distribute. So I'm going to distribute the 6 to the 5z by multiplying and keep the same sign or the same operation in the parentheses, and I would get 6 times 3, which is 18. Then I would bring down the symbol, and I'd look to see if I can combine like terms, which I can combine the z's. Since I don't want to take the 36z away and have nothing left on the right side, I'm going to take the 30z and bring it over to the 36z. And I need to bring it over by subtracting. Bring down negative 18. And I'm left with 6z. And then I need to get z by itself for the final step. So I divide both sides by 6. Now I didn't divide by a negative, even though my answer is negative 3, so I'm still going to keep the same direction of the symbol. But again, if I read from the variable side, I would read z is greater than or equal to negative 3. So that would be a closed circle going towards the right. Another one like this. Here we have to distribute twice. So we're going to distribute on both sides. We get 2h plus 12. Bring down the symbol. Negative 24 plus 3h, because you are going to have a negative times a negative there, so it would be positive 3h. Now we need to combine the like terms, so I'm going to bring the h's together. And that would be 1h, or I can just write it as h. And now I need to bring the numbers together. So I'm left with 36 is greater than h, and I would read that as h is less than 36. And I don't need to do any flipping of symbols because I didn't multiply or divide by a negative at any point. So I would put an open circle at 36 since I'm not including it, and it's to the left because it reads as h is less than 36. Here we have another example where we're going to have to simplify first and then solve, or try to solve. So if I'm simplifying this 3, it has a minus sign in front of it, so I'm going to distribute the 3 as a negative 3. The 18 is going to stay there, so I'm left with negative 3 times 8, which is negative 24c, negative 3 times 4, which is negative 12. Bring down the symbol, and I do the distributive property on the other side. And again, I'm distributing a negative, so I'm left with negative 24c plus 6 because I had two negatives there. Now I need to combine like terms. I can combine the 18 and the 12 because they're both on the same side and they're both numbers, so I just go left to right, 18 minus 12, which gives me 6. And I can't do anything else on either side, so I'm going to bring the variables together. Now what you should see here is the variable terms cancel each other out completely, and I'm left with the statement 6 is greater than or equal to 6. Now if I'm left with that statement, I'm going to be able to say that all real numbers would work in this situation because this is a true statement. And I wouldn't need to do a number line if that's the case. We have one more like that, distributing the negative 4. Bring down everything else. So I get negative 8m minus 20. I can combine the variable terms since they're on the same side, and they cancel each other out. So I'm left with 46 is less than or equal to negative 20, which is a false statement. So if it's a false statement, I'm going to say no solution. And again, I don't need to do a number line. Here I'm going to translate this into an inequality, and then I'm going to solve. So if I take the keywords here, I have 2 more than, so 2 plus half of a number, so 1/2 n, is greater than symbol, 27. So that would be what it would look like. And then I need to solve for n, so I need to subtract by 2 first. I get 1/2 n is greater than 25. And then to solve with a fraction here, I need to multiply by the reciprocal, 2 over 1, or 2, and I'm left with n is greater than 50, and I don't need to switch the symbol or flip the symbol because I did not multiply or divide by negative. And one more word problem here where we're going to write and solve an inequality. So this is